Okay, good morning friends. So the last class we discussed about the bond valuation where we covered like current yield, holding period yield, and then we talked about what is that, how bond value draws closer to the value, the par value, that is called pool to par. And I have kept those exercises in this one spreadsheet in the Google Drive folder. So please have a look at it, including that graph that we discussed in the last class. Okay, right? So as the time approaches for the maturity, the bond value becomes the redemption price in par value actually. Assuming par value is the redemption price. Okay. And there are also cases, possibilities that bonds can be redeemed at a premium. What unless and otherwise given, we will assume face value as 1000 and redemption also at 1000 at the time of maturity. That is the general convention. Okay. So now what we talk to, I'll just take one more exercise number 19 from the textbook that we are referring. Okay, let me put those points there. I hope my OneNote works seamless. Otherwise, I'll go directly to Excel. Okay, so there are two bonds. Bond Sam and bond Dave or Dave, whatever. So let's say S and D, and both have coupons 6.5%, but it is semi-annual, both of them. That means how much will you get in the every 6 months on 1000 rupees? How much? Anyone? Maturity period in years. You have 3 years, and this one you have 20 years. Okay, and their price is at par. Okay, now tell me what is the yield to maturity here? Anyone? Anyone, please? What is the yield to maturity?
So 6.5%.
Yes. When the price is at par, redemption will always assume at par unless otherwise mentioned. And then in that case, YTM will be equal to the interest rate. Okay, so 6.5% will be the yield to maturity. Okay, right? Right. So it will be 6.5. 6.5, but effective rate will be little more because it is semi-annual. It will be 3.25 and to the 1 plus 0.3.25 to the power 2 minus 1. That is another thing that we are not talking about at this point. Now let's say in the market what happens, the interest rate falls down, and so YTM falls down by 200 basis points. Okay, so 200 basis points means what will be the YTM now?
4.5%.
How much? How much you told? Yes, come again.
4.5%.
4.5%. 200 basis point means 2%. So 4.5% and 4.5%. Now let us find the value. So P, let's find out the value. Okay. The revised P now. Please do that on your own. Please do that. So formula will be what? What is your coupon? Coupon is how much? Every 6 months, how much coupon you are getting? Anyone, please? How much coupon you will be getting every year? Coupon means interest component every 6 months. How much?
65.
Pardon? 65.
32.5.
32.5 because 6.5% annual. Okay. And you will be getting semi-annually, so you'll get 3.25%. So 32.5 you will get on 1,000 rupees. So I'll say that 30 for the first bond, it will be 32.5 into PVIFA. What is the return? What is the discounting factor here? Anyone? For the discounting factor, R.
4.5%.
No, 2.25. Because it is semi-annual, na? 32.5 we are going to get every 6 months, na? So we will be taking R also for YTM by 2.25%, comma, how many years? How many periods? As far as first bond is concerned, how many periods?
6.
6 plus 1,000 into PVIF. Let me put comma here, 2.25%, same, comma 6. Okay. Similarly, what will be second bond? That is, let's say P0, we say S. Now P0 of D, new price. What will be that? Again, same, 32.5 into PVIFA, 2.25%, comma, how much?
40.
40. 20 into 2, 40. Plus 1,000 into PVIF, 2.25%, comma 40. Now please tell me the value. Similarly, let me do all these things here. Suppose the YTM increases by 200 basis points. Okay, BPs, right? What will happen then? What will be the value? So it will be again P0S, P0D, and your YTM will be in this case 6. How much? Now it is 6.5. If it goes by 8 point, it become 8.5%. That means your R will be how much? In this case, how much? 4.25%. So now tell me the values. 4 values you please calculate, all of you, and let me know the values. Whether you use your calculator formula or Excel or whatever you use, financial calculator, whatever you use, please do that. I'll take somebody's name. Aishik, unique name. Aishik Das. Aishik.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you calculating the value?
Yeah, the first value I got is 1042.81736. The P not S.
1000. Are you sure?
I can recheck it, sir.
Oh, 42 or 1000 something little. Okay, let me see other people. Sasan?
9.
Yes?
948.
Sorry, 1055. So
948 for which one? Hmm? 948
For 3 years.
What?
For 3 years.
3 year, but which one? First case, second case? When the YTM goes up or YTM comes down?
So for 8.5% YTM.
For 8.5% YTM, you are getting how much? 948.00. 948.00. Okay, 948.00. Okay. Right.
So the first one I actually made a mistake. I'm now getting as 1055.54.
1055.54. Very good. And the second one? Let me do the mistake of some fold calling. Bukya Rahul, please answer. Bukya, are you there? Rahul, are you there? Okay. Vibhuranjan Jena,
Yes, sir.
tell the value, please.
Sir, I'm getting 242.93
Which one?
for the 3 years now.
No, values, there is no mistake there. You tell the other two values. Maybe you please check that then. There's a mistake of that. Some error can be there, not problem. Sneha? Ji Sneha? Sneha is not there. Okay, Chinmay. You are also G Chinmay. Chinmay, are you there? What happened? Nobody is responding.
Sir, for 4.5% YTM and 20 years.
4.5%. 4.5%. Right. 4.
Yes.
How much is that?
And 20% white 20 years.
How much is that?
So 1261.94.
1261.94. Very good. Next one. Last one is how much? Hmm.
$809.23.
809.23. Very good. So if I do a summary here, when the YTM falls by 200 basis points, or YTM increases by 200 basis points. Okay, so the price is 1055.54 versus 1261, 1055.64 versus 1261.94, and this one 948 versus 809.23. Okay, so what is the delta percentage from the previous month? 1000 rupees was there. How much percentage change is there then? How much percentage? 5.5% plus. Here how much? 26.194% plus. Simple, na? 1000. Similarly, how much percentage down here? How much is that? 940. 1000 became 948, means how much down? 5.2%. Correct or not? How much is this one? 809.23 as a percent. How much fall is there? 100 something? No, sorry. Around 200 means 191 something. So how much is the fall? Minus 19.08%. Now what is the conclusion from this particular finding? What is the conclusion? This is the 3-year bond. This is a 20-year bond. Okay. What is the conclusion here? The bond value or whatever is more riskier in the case of a bond having a longer tenure or shorter tenure. With a 200 basis point change either side, your fast bond is varying, the value is changing between plus 5.5% to minus 5.20%, whereas that same thing is 26.194% to 19.08%. So what does it mean? Unless an otherwise mentions something on other things remaining constant, bonds with higher duration, or sorry, higher, I'll not say duration, I'll say bonds with a higher maturity period are more riskier, or more, the price of their bonds are more sensitive towards the change in interest rate. Okay, because in second year, the second one, what happens, you know, you are getting, if at the end of the day, it is a present value of cash flow. Now, what is the cash flow you have? There is cash flow comprises of present value of interest and present value of principal. Now tell me, what will be the proportion here, present value of interest to present value of principal in the first bond vis-a-vis second bond? Interest component to principal component. What is the ratio? Where you will have interest component more? Where you have more interest component? In third year bond, 3-year bond, or 20-year bond?
20-year bond.
20-year bond. Because there are so many cash flows are there, which can fluctuate, which can okay. That's how it becomes more riskier assets, because you are not going to cash flow immediately, and you are going to get the most of the cash flow in terms of interest. Principal that you are going to get at the end of 20th year, and that if you take the present value is very less. Whereas the principal that you are going to get there in the third year, the principal, that amount is very high compared to the interest component. That is the reasoning why the long-term bonds are more riskier than short-term bond. Okay, right? So you can always plot this one. So if I plot this one, let's say I do the plot here, and I say these are the YTM percentage, YTM in percentage, like 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever that may be, and this is your bond price. Okay, this graph is also there in the slide that is shared in Google Drive folder. What will happen? Price will fall anyway. With YTM increasing, price will fall or price will increase? Tell me.
Sir, it will fall.
It will fall. So this graph will be like this, let's say for the bond D. Okay, and the graph will be like this for the bond, let's say S. Okay, this will be what? Please tell me. This point is what? The coordinate for this point, can somebody tell me? The intersection point of the both the graphs. What will be this coordinate? Yes. Quick quiz, Brownie.
So the 3 years.
R value.
This is 3-year. This is 20-year bond. This is 3-year bond. Okay, I'm talking about the coordinates. Coordinates means YTM and the price. Yes, somebody was saying par value.
Price, I think 1000.
So it will be 1000. Okay, and the YTM?
6.5.
6.5%.
6.5%.
Very good. So who are these people who answered this? Two boy, Khushbu and somebody else.
Sir.
Pardon?
Sir, Shahrukh sir.
Shahrukh Khan.
Yes sir.
A great person here. Okay. Right. Let me see if I should take one more example from the bond value price risk, bond risk. There is a risk in the investment bond, okay, and so you have a return expected, correct? You have a return expected. Now the return is a function of what? Return on a loan, return on a bond, return on a debt expected by the lender is a function of what? That is called nominal interest rate anyway. So nominal interest means the interest rate charged by the bank or lender or the yield on the bond. Okay. So nominal interest will comprise of what? One is real rate. Real rate means without any risk, no risk and no inflation. Okay. So no risk, no inflation means and no risk means which bond is no risk, zero risk? Tell me. Which bond will be zero risk? That means what is the risk, by the way? In the bond, the risk is that the chance that you may not get the interest or you may not get the principal amount back. Okay, if that is a chance higher, then what will happen? You will expect a higher rate of return. So risk and return are what? Positive related or directly related or inversely related? They are directly related. More risk expected, more expected rate of return. That means you will be discounting that cash flow at a higher rate of return because of the risk involved. So which is that bond where you do not have any risk? That means there is no chance. There is 0% chance that the issuer will fail in paying the interest or repaying the principal. Tell me, what will be that?
Zero treasury bond.
So T-bills.
Zero coupon bond.
Treasury
No,
bond.
Zero coupon bond can be risky that you may not get the principal at the time maturity.
So T-bills, sir.
T-bill means treasury bill. Treasury bills are the short-term financial instruments issued by the government to raise finance from the market. Okay. Or you have G-SECs, government securities, is also known as gilts, GILTs, gilts. Okay. So that is also another thing. So long-term bonds, 10-year, 5-year, Government of India issues that through Reserve Bank of India. Then the investors can subscribe. Okay. So big investors can subscribe because that the minimum amount of investment is very high in those bonds. So that is your what? That yield on the Government of India bond today. Let's say a 10-year government bond yield is, let's say, 6.5%. Okay, let's say assume. I don't know. I have not gone to the data, but let's assume. This is a nominal rate or real rate? Can anybody tell me? It is a nominal rate. Okay, nominal rate without any risk. And what is real rate? Real rate is nominal rate minus, any word can guess?
Inflation rate.
Inflation. Very good. Very good. Okay, that means my nominal rate in a government bond is a function is what? I can do that. Let's say I do short form NR is equal to RR plus inflation. Right? That is one way of doing that. Okay, but another better method is actually they do 1 plus RR into 1 plus inflation. Let's say inflation rate. That is your minus 1. That is called nominal rate. Applying this formula. But anyway, this is an approximate formula for calculating nominal rate from real rate and inflation. Okay, so no problem. That is your yield. Now suppose there is somebody corporate house issues a bond. Now tell me, can we say that even if the corporate houses can be, they will be very reputed companies, but relatively which will be more riskier at all? If there is a risk involved, risk will be more in a corporate house bond or a government bond. Tell me.
Sir, in corporate.
So corporate, sir.
Because there is a still chance the company may default. Maybe very low. Okay, like a company like a Reliance India, let's say Birla Group companies, like Grasim, L&T, so many companies which are very reputed companies. They are unlikely to default. So they are like Government of India only, but still relatively you can say they are little riskier than Government of India bonds. Okay, very less risky. But similarly, but a bond which is issued by a company which is a new company, okay, their business not making that much profit, what happened? There will be chance of default more or less comparative to Reliance India, little more. Okay, So you need a premium for that also. Okay, that is called interest rate risk, interest risk assess, or it's called default risk, right? So if you do that, if I do a graphical method, so let's say I have real rate, then I have inflation added. If it is time to maturity is there, inflation, it is this is called time to maturity. This is there in the slide also. This is your interest rate. Okay, and then you have interest rate risk premium. So this is inflation premium. This is real rate. Sorry, this is real rate, and this is your interest rate. What? Risk premium. Okay. This will be higher in case of longer duration maturity, lower in case of shorter duration maturity. Okay. Any doubt? Any observation? Okay, no problem. Right. And let me tell about certain conditions or the when the bond holders can feel comfortable. Okay. Now I'm talking about a bond which is a secured bond. Let's say corporate bond is a secured bond as such. Okay. So secured bond will have some covenants. Covenants means some restrictions that will be imposed by on the company. Okay. For example, say when the company is taking the money, and by the way, in India, it is term called debenture. So bonds and debentures are synonyms. Okay, but debentures are by default secured. Secured means what happens when the company issued debenture, which is nothing like a bond only. Okay, as per the pictures are concerned, like bond, like you have interest, you will get periodically, you will get the maturity amount at the end. Okay, unless it's a convertible bond, you will get your maturity amount the cash. Okay, they are actually secured. Means there is a trustee is formed. The trustee will comprise of people outside experts as such. The trustee will ensure that the job is that the money that is what is used, they are taken from the bond holders. They are used for the purpose for what it is taken. Okay, and they also have to ensure that in some mechanism that yes, when the time to maturity comes, they get the money back and also they get the interest back. Now tell me, how do you ensure that? How do you ensure that interest comes, principal comes back, all those things? How do you ensure that?
Sir, mortgage.
Okay, assets are mortgaged, but tell me, if asset is mortgaged, will I get the interest? If asset is mortgaged, yes, maybe if there is a default, that chance the assets will be sold and whatever proceeds comes from the asset sale, that will be going to the secured bond holder or debenture holder for whom that asset was secured. Okay, but how do I get the interest? Tell me. Because asset is a machine is used for production leads to sales, sale leads to cash flow. That is the process, typical business process.
We can get a bank guarantee.
Okay, bank guarantee means bank will pay na if there is a default, correct? That's what.
Yes.
And how
how
the bank will satisfy its customer, its lender?
I was thinking about it this way that, for example, the way tax is cut from a salary. So, the tax is paid, then only you can spend that money. So same way, company would get some money and first pay the bond owners and then do whatever they want to.
Okay, very good. Right. Okay, that particular concept I'll explain with another example. Okay, now I'll talk about that. Okay, yes, somewhere you have to ensure that whatever cash flow is coming from the customer, etc., some amount is set aside and that money is paid towards interest. Okay, similar, what about principal amount? What about principal amount? Because principal will be paid when? At the end of the period. If you are not, let's say, bond is not paid, because in a loan what happens, every installment you can structure the loan such a manner, you can get the interest and principal with every installment. But in a bond, which is a maturity period is 10 years, typically in that case, at the end of 10th year, you will get the final amount. Now think about that case where the company has to organize that much money at the end of 10th year so that they can pay that amount. How to ensure that? Tell me. How to ensure that?
Can
So
this
anyway,
be
last point was that restriction use of cash flow. Like the company can say that in the structure can be in the loan structure or the bond debenture, that security structure, that yes, you cannot give dividend to the shareholders unless you pay the interest and principal, etc., etc. All those things, restrictions can be there. So that's why debt brings restrictions and interference. If you do not want interference, don't go for debt. Anyway, company has to go for that because they need funds. So restriction use of cash flow, that you ensure the interest is there. But I am talking about how do I get the principal which will be paid at the end of the term. Yes.
So can that be guaranteed by collateral, because one-time sale of assets is easy?
Okay, but what will happen, collateral sold means that's a distress sign. Please keep in mind. The collateral sold means the company not exist, because the assets are used for production. It will continue. That is not a good sign. For a healthy company, what shall you do? So that you don't have the financial problem. If you are to sell the assets, and by the time that asset value will also be lower because that depreciation will take place and will not be that valuable also. Is it not? The value of asset today and 10 year hence will be same. Realized value. So what do you do? Now tell me. Suppose, let's say that you have a commitment to pay 1 lakh rupees at the end of 3 years from now. Okay. And you are earning some salary or stipend, etc. Now tell me, how comfortable you will be paying 3 lakh rupees? Tell me, most of you, will you be comfortable 3 lakh rupees to pay at the end of 3rd year? Some commitment is there. So what shall you do for that? What shall you do in that case? In your case, let's say. It is like meeting an expense of 3 lakh rupees at the end of 3 years, and your parents have to arrange that money that time. They know it is going to happen. Okay. Now what they will do? Tell me. Is a time value of money exercise? What shall you do?
Sir, set aside some money each year or something.
Yes, each year, or in your case, it will be every month. See, depending on the cash flow situation for the person or the institution. So maybe in your case, you will set aside some amount from your salary or whatever cash you get in every month. Some amount set aside, you invest somewhere so that it matures, like recurring deposit matures and becomes 3 lakh rupees at that point of time, so that you do not have the stress at that point of time. So similarly, the companies can create something called a sinking fund. Okay, so they will set aside some cash from a sinking fund, and that fund amount will be invested in some securities, so that finally it matures with interest together, everything, that you are able to pay the principal amount. So that is ensured by debenture trustees. Okay, that is ensured by them. They are ensured that sinking fund is created so that the principal amount is paid at that point of time without any discomfort. Okay, because arranging that money will be very difficult. If it's a perpetual debt, don't bother about it. Perpetual debt means you do not have to repay the principal. It's not a perpetual debt. Okay, you have to arrange for the principal repayment. So sinking fund can be there as provision. So in a secured bond, this a secured debenture, this particular provision is there. When unsecured, you may not have. But as a finances, forget about there is a regulation, restriction, or there or not. As a financial planner, you should always do this sinking fund. Okay, and sinking fund is also used for another case. Tell me, can somebody tell me? It's not a loan. It is also used for something else in a company's financial management or financial planning. Can anybody guess? Where can you use this concept so that you set aside some cash flow, invest somewhere, and get that money at a particular point of time for some purpose? Tell me one more example. Like this was repayment of loan principal amount. You tell one more example. Anyone? Brownie question. Where can you use the sinking fund concept?
So maybe advance received on some post orders.
Advance received. Advance you receive for revenue, na? To give the revenue, provide sales.
Yes, sir. But if we keep that in some other thing, then that value would depreciate, right? So we need to.
Advance is taken for a short term actually, 1 year, 6 months, I like that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, depending on the product, of course. Suppose you are Boeing or Airbus, you may take the advance maybe today and you will give the product maybe after 2-3 years. That is possible. But you will take that money to use for your procurement, raw material, etc. Na? Isn't it? You take advance from the customer for buying. Tell me.
Procurement of
Use that.
Sir, for planned expenses?
Pardon?
For planned expenses?
Planned expenses. Give an example.
So retirement.
bonus, yeah.
Who's retirement? Your retirement. I'm talking to company's point of view. Tell me, yes, how retirement comes here?
Sir, retirement comes here because you know that maybe 40 years down the line, you have a certain expense of living, and so you need that much amount of money to live, right?
Okay,
So,
that is from individual point of view. That's okay. I'm asking from the company point of view.
okay, I thought it was any example. So,
No, corporate example, company point of view. Planned expense you are saying, but give an example. Please be more specific.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, to minimize the tax paid by the company?
Will come there. Tax payment will be based on the profit of the year and tax planning and tax rules. Okay. Where the question minimize? Minimize, you cannot minimize like this tax payment. Maybe I don't get you, but you can elaborate further.
The provident funds.
Remove a specific amount and then we do not show it in the revenue earned, then the tax paid would be less.
Revenue earned. Why you don't show revenue earned? Why that idea is coming that not if it's revenue or to show the revenue, we don't have choice. If it is revenue, you have to show as revenue. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. You can manipulate. Okay.
Maybe company wants to purchase an asset in future.
Who is saying that? Shivam.
Yes, sir.
And who told the planned expenses?
Sir, Akshay.
Akshay. Akshay, you could have got the brownie, but Shivam gets it.
No problem.
Okay. Right? Yes. Suppose I have to acquire a plant, I have to invest in expansion, etc. At least some 5 years. I know that is the planning there. Okay. It is not regulation that you have to set as some amount, but to make yourself more comfortable, you start keeping aside some amount every period, maybe yearly, some cash flow, so that you are in a comfortable situation to buy that asset for the expansion. That is one. Similarly, you know, if you remember, we talked about depreciation of fixed assets. Okay. So depreciation of fixed asset, you depreciate. That means if the life of the asset is 10 years, so at the end of 10th year, the value will be equal to expected to be equal to scrap value. But don't you need a machine at that point of time for survival? Tell me. You need a machine to survival. You have to produce, correct? Your machine is gone, so you have to have a new machine that time. Now arranging money for a new machine from that year's cash flow will be more, very lot of pressure. Obviously, the value of the machine will be higher, big inflation, etc. will be there. So in that case, when you do the depreciation, depreciation is a non-cash expense, no doubt about that. So what one can do, you can set aside some amount every year from the cash flow and create a sinking fund. Okay, and the sinking fund invest and don't create sinking fund just like that. You keep the money cash just like that. Sinking fund you create, you could also create. That means with every year with that cash flow that you are setting aside, you buy some investments, and those investments like recurring investments every year that will mature to some amount, so that that amount will be sufficient. Will be very you can use to for comfortably buy the replacement of asset, replacement asset. Okay. That is another application of sinking fund concept. But please keep in mind, yes, in case of debenture, you have to have a sinking fund as a regulatory requirement. But in case of financial planning, like purchasing asset in future, all those things, there is no regulatory requirement. It is a financial plan. It is your self-discipline, nothing else. Okay, and self-discipline will make the company more successful anyway as such. Because the cash flow will be used, you will be splurged that. You will be using that cash for something else. Now, I am taking another concept here, how the financial discipline helps us. For example, you can buy a house today with a loan, and from your salary, the EMI will be deducted. That is one option. And it's possible that you do not need the house today. You need the house 15 years. Even if you buy the house today, you will give it on rent. Okay. Okay. So you buy the house on the EMI. That means you give some down payment, and you give some. Then you take a loan against the house, a housing loan, and you start paying EMI. It will be deducted from your salary. Okay, and with electronic ECS system, etc., automatically deducted every month. Now the point is, instead, but you don't need the house to stay. Okay, right? What you will do, you will rent. So if your EMI is 30,000, you may get rent of 10,000, but at the end of 15th year, you have the house you want to stay, you can stay there. It is up to you. Whenever you want to stay, you can stay. Another option is that since you do not need the house for 15 years, you can start investing and some amount, and that money accumulates, and at the 15th year, you buy that new house that time. That is another option. Okay. Now, which option should you go for? Which option one should go for? Manthan? Manthan Patel?
Yes, sir. Please, can you repeat the question? Some voice was not clear.
Very bad, Manthan. If I repeat for you again, I'll take so much time.
Sir, I think
let me ask someone. I'll be doing this. I know it is getting recorded. Okay. So I'll ask another person. Mudit Gupta, please answer. Mudit, are you there? Mudit status unknown anyway. Mudit, are you there? Chalo,
sir, my network is. Sir.
Okay, then okay, no problem. Leave it. Yeah, Nikhil. Nikhil Kumar. Which option will you go for?
Sir.
You also want the question again or what?
Yes, sir.
Very bad, Nikhil. No, I'll not ask the question again. I'll go to Ninad. Yes, Ninad Sahu. Ninad, there is Ninad. You are the same Ninad who was vice president, or you are someone else? No. Sometime back, last year, last year, there is main vice VP called Ninad, na? Ninad, what happened? Ninad is gone. Okay. Anyway, So the point, yeah, tell me anyone can answer this question.
Sir, I think taking the loan. I would choose taking the loan.
Okay, who is saying? Others is saying. And obviously,
Yes.
okay, others. Okay. What is the danger of depositing the money and using that money at the end of 15th year and buy a house? Maybe you'll get a new house that time. That is one advantage. This house will be 15 years later, will be quite old. I mean, it may require repairing also.
I would rather invest in something else and then buy the house 30 years later or whatever, 15 years later.
Okay. Okay. But what is the, okay, others, why do you say that? Okay. You want to dispute or argue with the Abhyut? What will be your argument?
Sir, government provides various tax benefits while taking home loans, and we have to pay taxes in whatever investments we are making, like most of the investments we are making. So we are paying extra taxes and not saving any taxes, so the expense gets higher. That's why I chose taking the loan.
Okay, so to take the advantage of tax rebate that is there associated with the interest payment and housing loan related interest payment principal repayment, at the same time, if you keep the money set aside, you will also pay the tax on the gain that you get, either interest or value of the investment, etc. Of course, that will be subject to type of investment. Mutual fund will have different tax, bond will have different tax, shares will have different stuff. That's okay, but that income is taxable. Okay, right? Okay, that is one. Anything else? From financial planning point of view, any other reason, anyone else? I got this point. Both the points I agree, Abhyuk as well as others. But can there be any other reason that I'll still go for deduction from my salary every year EMI and bus, so that I have got the loan and loan is repaid within 15 years?
Sir, the houses or the prices of the houses will increase.
So accordingly, you have to set aside more amount every year. Yes, you have to factor that at the end of 15th year, the expected market price, except price of a house. Accordingly, you will set the investment goal, right? That's what. Yes. Everything will go up anyway. Your salary also go up. Your savings will also go up, right? So you can have a growing saving, right? Future value growth. That is one. That is another way. Okay, I got your point. See, what happens, suppose you are keeping the money aside and there is an emergency up the 5th year. Some emergency is there. What shall you do there? What will be the temptation? To break the investment or not? Tell me. There may be a temptation to break the investment. Okay? And because the money with you, whether in terms of, unless you are a very disciplined financial planner, which is most of us not. Okay? Right? We need a forced discipline. In that case, taking a loan today, so particular people who are having a salaried income. I'm not talking about those business income, very high business income. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people who depend on salary as a cash flow every month. It is better that they take a loan so that they know that the amount they can spend for day-to-day expenses is lower by X rupees. So EMI is 30,000. If they're getting salary of 1,20,000, they know 90,000 only they can spend in a particular month. Accordingly, they will make all the plan. Whereas if you say them no, you keep 30,000 in the investment and let it mature, I'll use for some work. It is possible that you will use that money for some other purposes. That way, debt brings discipline, financial discipline. That way. Okay, that is my argument. Most of the authors argue like that. Debt brings financial discipline. Okay, so it is, if your ability to repay is there, and you have a steady cash flow, there is no harm taking a loan. Okay, debt is not necessarily bad. Okay, what the Charbaks told, Drodam krutva grutam pivet javad jivet sukham jivet. In my word, if I have to make rhythmic, borrow money, have honey. Okay, borrow money, have honey. It is creating problem. Okay, good. So I think more or less I have covered the bond. I have taken so much time for this and to cover bond. Now I will move to something called, yes, I was telling that I will be taking that an example as such. You know, let me take 5 minutes as an interesting concept. Suppose you are bidding for, this parking space in the railway, etc. Parking in the municipal areas. You know about the parking space. They are at, then there is a tender for that. You can bid and get it. Okay. Right. So maybe, and then there will be restrictions also. Municipality will say that you can charge only this much money as parking fee for two-wheeler, because it is not that you bid for so much and charge how much as a parking fee. That is also not there. So parking fee will be there, restriction will be there. You have the area restriction, space, and you have to accordingly bid. And you have to manage everything there also. Only the area is given, and some structure may be given to you. If it is a footpath type road side, no structure is there. Only space will be there. Okay, right. Now tell me, suppose you will like to take a loan for that. Suppose you have to bid for it, you have to give a big amount to municipality. Okay, right? So parking fee or parking area, bid for parking area. Okay, maybe finally you got the bid and the bid amount comes to rupees 25 lakh. You have to pay to municipality. Okay. You are a good person, you must have high business history, etc. But you do not have a 25 lakh rupees. You have only rupees 10 lakh with you. So how do you get rupees 15 lakh? From where? What shall you do? You will go to bank and bank will give a loan. You expect that, right? Now, what is the security here? Tell me. If the bank has to give a security, as per security, tell me what security can you provide? Except personal guarantee, mortgage of house, let's say these are not available. Okay, your house is jointly owned by you and your father or family members, maybe something like that. You don't have anything that you can mortgage. Okay, so bank is still thinking that you are a good borrower. You will do the things and you will get the money from the parking fees and you will pay the bank is confident that way. But bank needs security. What type of security can be there? Bank or a financier for that matter?
Sir, the tender for the parking lot.
Yes. But tender, what will happen? See, tender is municipalities got the money. Do you think bank will now go on to the parking space and manage the parking and get the money and take the recovery? Is it possible? Tell me. And bank cannot sell the tender to someone else, the tender right, that right to have the parking space. It is, there is a condition also. What the bank will do with that? It is municipality has given the, and municipality has got the money, right? Will the bank employee will go and do the parking and get the collection from you and me, 10 rupees per two-wheeler, 15 rupees per four-wheeler? Is it possible for them? Tell me.
No, sir.
No, sir.
That is not the solution. What do you do there? Okay. So what happens? There comes that somebody was telling that, yes, if you can, somebody, I don't remember who was telling that, if you can set aside the amount as such, what will happen? This is typically known as securitization. Okay. One escrow account will be created. So that structure will be like that. Whenever the money is collected from this user, that money will, that parking fees, there will be some mechanism. The bank will ensure that will go to first escrow account. From escrow account, the periodic interest come principal repayment portion, that is installment, will go to whom? To the banker. And whatever leftover amount, it can be used for what? Other operating expense, like salary for the person who is manning that, some maintenance, some shade, etc., etc. Okay, so they create an account where it goes actually. That structure has to be there. Okay, that means you are securitizing future cash flow, right? And against that you are taking a loan, and bank is happy. The bank is one condition satisfied that this person has a good credit history, good rating, and also this parking space has a lot of demand. So that will be the business. So the bank has to see now that they have taken he has given 25 lakh rupees for the parking. He has to give. But is it 25 lakh rupees worth? Will there be so much parking taking place in this area in this entire year, which justify that, right? Similarly, you can also have a toll plaza. Somebody can bid for toll plaza, and all toll collection will be there. Okay, I'm talking with the private. Not all the toll plaza will have that. So you can always securitize those receivable from the toll fees, and against that you can take a loan, and first that amount will go to escrow account. From the escrow account, the money will go for your financier. Whatever left over you can use. That means you cannot pay your salary, etc., operating expenses without taking care of the the amount due to the banker or the lender. Okay. The very beautiful structures are securitization there. I'm just telling a very simple example here. Okay, like electricity company also, they can also securitize the future electricity bills to be collected from the customers. So when the customer makes the payment to in the account, the money will automatically go to escrow account, and from that escrow account, that money will go fast to the lender who has given the loan to the electricity distribution company for setting transmission line or distribution line, etc. Then whatever money left over can be used by the borrower for paying the day-to-day expenses. That is another very good application of securitization. You are securitizing your future cash flow or receipts going to come from your customers. Okay, chalo. So I've talked about debt, bond, market, etc., etc. To okay, securitization also discussed. That's okay. It was not in my plan, but I thought I should discuss. This is a very old concept, but it's very much prevalent in the debt market. It's also called structured obligations, structured loans. Okay, and that is what happened in your 2000. That your 2008 crisis, financial market crisis in US, etc. It was securitization only. What happens now? There was layer and more over and over there take loan. You got securitized instrument, then you sold the securitized instrument, you got a loan for that. Like that, you kept on securitizing same thing. The underlying asset is same, and then there are more and more loans are actually issued to different parties. Okay, what can happen? The bank which has got the securitized receivables can also sell that to someone else, that securitization, another party. A bank will get the money and they'll go. Another party will be now waiting for that money to come. That is also there. I'm not discussing about that. Now I go to whatever you have another 15 minutes time. I'll touch upon the valuation of equity shares. Then in the next class, I'll talk about we'll work out some small examples. Valuation of equity shares. Okay, the fundamental valuation principle is what? For any valuation is what? The fundamental principle, price of a particular investment is nothing but present value of cash flow. Yes, cash flow from 1 till n, right? 1 means time 1 till n. That is the fundamental principle of any valuation for that matter. Okay. Now, in a bond or debenture, you are very much yes, this is your cash flow. You are going to get interest, you are going to get the principal, etc., etc. But can we talk the same thing about equity shares confidently? And in bond debenture, interest is compulsory also, principal repayment also compulsory. It is a structure that you have to give the principal amount back at that point of time. But will you have such features in equity shares or not? Yes, you will get some cash flow every year, mostly on most certain. You will also get the money back after a particular period of time. Are those conditions applicable for equity shares or not? Are those conditions applicable for a equity share or not? Pragna. Pragna, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Are those conditions applicable in case of equity shares? You want to hear the question, right? Bad. Manasi, Mukund Bandhavkar. Manasi, are you there? Yes. What is this happening? I'm taking some names randomly and most of you are not responding. Okay. I have to now tell in advance to the class that some people that I will be taking your name and please be prepared at least. Pratyush Kumar Swain, are you there?
Yes, sir. Hello. Yes, sir. I'm there.
Yes, Pratyush.
I don't have idea, sir. About. I'm not really sure.
Idea? Equity shares. Do you have a term that yes, you will be getting the money back after some point of time? Equity share.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Is
it given there? Is it we have discussed that when the company issues equity shares, it will also say that you will get the money back after a certain point of time?
No, sir. Means.
That means no, there is no maturity amount there. If you want to exit, you can exit in the market. You can sell to someone else, right? It is not there.
If the company is dissolved, then he might.
That is okay, but we are not talking about that. Na? Dissolve that, so you may not get anything also. Nothing is left over, how shall you get, right? You may not get anything, you may get so much more, that is okay. Dissolve means in practically you will be getting very less amount or not get anything also. Okay? That is not talking. I'm talking about healthy company generally. Does the company promise at the time of issue of share that you will be getting this much periodical, this much at the end of maturity?
No, sir.
Does equity share have maturity period? Anyone? Equity share nomenclature is equity share of X rupees face value issued at this much rupees. That's the only thing. No time, no periodic payment, nothing promised. Okay? Yes, some shares you may expect some dividend. So that way cash flow can be there. And the end of particular year, you can think of exiting from the investment. So you can forecast the price at that point of time. And then accordingly, you can use this particular formula. Okay. That is one. Otherwise, it's very difficult. That's why valuation of equity shares is a very complex subject. When complex means lot of variety of formulas are there. Valuation of bond, simple one value only. That your present value of interest plus present value of principal. Bas. There is no second formula in the world. A simple bond. Okay. But valuation equity shares, you don't have that. Because first of all, you do not have a guarantee that what you will get in the periodically. You don't have the guarantee that you will get something at the end of particular period. Okay, right? And even if you think that the company will give something, but there is a high risk involved. It can be more, it can be less also. So a lot of risk is involved, right? So you are not certain about your numerator. Numerator means the cash flow. Numerator on the cash flow. Okay. And discounting factor is your rate of return required assets. So what do you do now? How to do that? So anyway, if you are going for a cash flow basis of valuation, you have two approaches. One is called dividend discount model. Another is called free cash flow model. Free cash flow for equity. In this class, in this particular we will not talk about free cash flow equity. Free cash flow equity will give lot of time to explain. I'll talk about that in the towards end of the subject teaching as such. But I'll talk about dividend discount model in this case. Okay. So dividend discount model is very simple. We have already done some similar type problem in your time value money also. So what you do here, let's say the simple is that dividend without any growth. That means your D0 is equal to D1 is equal to D2 is equal to D means dividend per share. D infinite. Why infinite? Because equity share is an infinite investment. So let's say D0 is equal to 12 rupees. Okay. What is my price then? Tell me. D0 12 means D1 12, everywhere 12. Okay. And my expected rate of return as an investor is, expected rate of return is, let's say 14%. So what will be the value now? Tell me. What is this known as in time value of money? It is a perpetuity.
85.71.
So perpetuity value is P0 is equal to A by R. A means amount every year by R by 0.14. Yes, how much is, madam?
85.714.
85 or 55? 85.
85.714.
71. Okay, very good. Very simple. Okay, right. Another thing is that yes, D0 is equal to rupees, let's say 8, but it will grow at 5% per annum till perpetuity. And your expected rate of return, expected ROR is, let's say 12%. So it is a what? It is a growing perpetuity. What is the formula? P0 is equal to, yes. What is the formula?
I minus.
So 114.2857.
114.26.
257.
Okay, 26. Let's see. Okay, it is nothing but D1 by R minus G. What is my D1? D1 is 8 into 1.05 whole divided by 0.12 minus 0.05. How much it comes? Is the same amount? This amount 114.26.
Sir, no, it's 120. I did a miscalculation. It's 120.
Okay, maybe you did not multiply 1.05.
Yes, sir.
So rupees 120. Okay, 120 exactly 120.00.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very good. So this is a very simpler concept where you apply. Okay, right? D1 by this is thing. In free cash flow also same thing we do. We estimate the free cash flow and then we estimate the R, we estimate the G, and accordingly use that. So you can replace dividend with free cash flow for equity. What is free cash flow equity? I'll not discuss at this point of time. Okay, but the framework is same. Then next I'll do, yes, I have D0 is equal to, let's say, rupees 7. It will grow at 8% for next 3 years and then stabilize at 5% growth. Okay, what will be the value then? How do I do that? So I got D1, I got D2, I got D3, I got D4. What is my D1? 7 into 1.08. What is my D2? 7 into 1.08 to the power 2. D3, 7 into 1.08 to the power 3. And D4 is how much?
D3 into 1.05.
7 into 0 to 3 into 1 point how much? 0.5. Okay, you got the value. Okay, so what do you do now? What is the value now? Value is 0. PV of D1 to D3, you find this factor value. Then PV of terminal value, tell me, terminal value 3 or 4? Your PV of D4 onward will be what TV? Tell me. PV of D4 onward will be what TV? Terminal value 3 or 4?
3.
3. Very good. So prevent is, so whatever TV you have present value TV, so that will not happen. So if I do that again, 7 into 1.08 divided by how much discounting factor? Discount factor how much? Oh, I am not giving discounting factor, right? Okay, let's say R is, let's assume R is 14%. Okay, 1.14 plus 7 into 1.08 to the power 2 by 1.14 to the power 2 plus 7 into 1.08 to the power 3 divided by 1.14 to the power 3, right? Then what? Plus 7 into 1.08 to the power 3 into 1.05 na to perpetual growth.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that is your what? The cash flow D4 divided by 0.14 minus 0.05. That is your value, terminal value, divided by 1 plus 1.4 to the power what? Tell me.
3.
Sorry, this is your V. How much?
So 4,
To the
sir.
power 3. Bas, ho gaya. Now you can calculate quickly and tell me the value if you have time. Otherwise, you go to your respective team.
Sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can you scroll just a bit up? I had a question.
Yeah.
In the previous problems.
There is a mistake or what?
No, sir. A question, sir. In the previous problem.
Tell me which one? This one?
Yes, sir. This one, sir. Why did you multiply 8 with 1.05? I could
Because
not.
the formula is D1. Next year dividend, not this year dividend.
Oh, okay, okay, sir.
Your D0 is 8. So D1 will be how much? 8 into 1.05.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So some tips for the not tips. You have to just type the answer. No, don't show the calculation. It answer for the question that you are solving in that particular team, your quiz. Let's say answer comes to 3070. Oh.
Sir, sir, one doubt. For in some questions which has semi-annual coupons, you've just divided the annual YTM by 2. So shouldn't we take the square root instead of dividing by 2?
No, divide by 2 only.
Because 16% annual rate means 7.74%.
16% annual rate means 8% semi-annual.
But sir, you have to take the square root because to get the correct.
8% semi-annual. Accordingly, you take the number of periods accordingly, right? Effective annual return is yes 1.08 to the power 2 minus 1. But for discounting, how much interest you get? 8% or 8.5 some percentage every 6 months? Tell me. If it's 16% annual but semi-annual coupon.
Sir, if I really want a YTM to be.
No, you tell me. You will get how much money? You tell me.
If I do what? If I do what? How much money will I get?
Invest where he says 16% but payable semi-annually.
Okay, then I'll get 1.08 square minus 1.
No. Amount I will get. You will get 8% or 16%. You will get 8% some percentage in the every 6 months.
I'll get 16 point something after 1 year.
Oh, that you reinvest. I'm talking 6 monthly. How much will you get?
That's the question. So not sure.
What not sure?
It depends on what that person meant. He could have already taken that into account and said that कि तुम्हारा 8% बनेगा. हाँ.
Don't take your all assumptions or whatever you feel like. Okay. Just a minute.